All right, well, here are a few news articles I thought were worth looking at. Um, I've been hearing about this coming, and there was a famous fake report on the Rachel Maddow show, but this appears to be true. Northern Idaho has, in fact, run out of hospital beds because of COVID, and they've begun rationing care. And there was Hawaii has recently decided to do the same thing. I did not know they even needed to proclaim this. I thought it was always the case that hospitals could ration care. But anyway, apparently they have to turn on something called crisis standards, which is the sort of thing you have during wars and other crises when you cannot really treat all the patients. And so you practice triage. You sort the patients into ones you can save and ones that are not worth wasting time on. You just let them die. And so that's what they say. They now are taking ICU beds for COVID patients that are just going to die anyway and sticking them in like a classroom with minimal care and not bothering to waste ICU resources on them, which is quite logical. I heard a week ago, I think in Texas, the hospital administrator said, I always tell the COVID patients, you have to say goodbye to your family before I put you on the respirator because now with Delta, you never come off. I'm just putting you on there and you're just going to die. And it seems kind of pointless to even bother treating them if the treatment is that ineffective. Anyway, so we reached that point. Mostly in places that don't have enough vaccination. Idaho has one of the lowest vaccination rates. And all right, so Bitcoin is now official currency in El Salvador. Every merchant is ordered to use it, but the journalists and reports I hear from down there, most people have not begun to figure it out at all. There is an app you can use to do Bitcoin transactions, and they give you $30 free worth of Bitcoin if you install the app, and all the transactions appear to be off-chain, which is what would have to happen because real Bitcoin transactions on the chain take an hour and cost like $30 per transaction. So there must be some secondary record kept, which is presumably eventually much later merged into the blockchain. And I wouldn't be surprised if it's all pretty easy to hack. But anyway, they have these machines up in some places where you can turn dollars into Bitcoins, and you can buy things with Bitcoins. And a few people say they've gone to like fast food restaurants and you can buy something with Bitcoin. It works to some extent, but the official app went down and is still down. There's something wrong with it. So anyway, we'll see how that goes. So this is a public service announcement. It occurred to me I ought to mention this. In San Francisco, the Center of Free Thought, do not get a smart butt plug. There are apparently internet-connected smart butt plugs, and they are defective, and they lock up, and they can be hacked and all that. So people are making, and this is the guy who actually did the research to prove all these smart sex toys can, of course, be hacked like all other Internet of Things devices. So I figured I better warn my students who, in my opinion, are at high risk of this. Around here, we have a high vaccination rate. You're probably not at great risk of COVID, so probably this is the more important public service announcement to give you. Anyway, I was amazed by this. In China, a woman says that an Alibaba supervisor raped her, and they've dropped the case because apparently rape is not a crime in China. You can only be held for 15 days for rape. The maximum punishment for someone who molests another. That is incredible. I wonder if there's something being lost in translation here. But it appears that rape is not a crime in China. That's very hard to believe. Anyway, hopefully somebody will write a more enlightening article about the situation. If so, that's incredible. And this is a very nice article in New Yorker about what really happened to Afghan women. And they talk about the rural Afghan women, which is most of them. Somebody says, I'm sorry, what? Yeah, I know, exactly. But they accuse someone of rape and they say, well, they were in the jail for 15 days and that's the most you can do for rape. So anyway, so in Afghanistan, the rural women, which is 75% of the women, never leave house at all after age 11. They just stay in their home and can never see anybody they're not related to. And you never find out what's happening. And these journalists managed to talk to them, and they said, that they were local warlords who were just sort of horrible tyrants who would like go in houses and kill people and snatch the women and take revenge on anybody that ever crossed them. And then the Taliban came in and pushed those guys out. And the Taliban were like a better government than the local warlords with just a bunch of thugs that were basically, just like organized crime figures. And then the Americans came in and kicked out the Taliban and put the old corrupt warlords back in charge, and they began killing everybody again. And in particular, since Americans would pay a bounty for Taliban fighters, the local warlord would just grab anybody he didn't like and send them into the Americans and say they were Taliban to collect the bounty, and the Americans would just play along with it. Even when they knew it wasn't true, they'd just forward the guy to Guantanamo Bay to be tortured and pay the bounty and keep the machine rolling. Yeah. Anyway, watch Turning Point on Netflix. Well, I don't know anything about it. What does it cover? I don't think I ever had Netflix. I'm completely outside of television, but anyway, if you put up a link, put it up here and people can see whatever that turning point is. Anyway, so Australia apparently has now given itself a powerful law to go into people's online accounts. Oh, the whole 9/11 and what happened in the Afghan war. Oh, good. Okay, thank you. Yeah, good. Yeah, there's quite a bit coming out about that. Anyway, it's so this is the story. They have identify and disrupt, and so they can, I guess, intrude on online accounts. It sounds kind of like what happened here with after 9/11. Okay, great, a link. Let me put this link up. Turning Point. It looks like an ad or something. Turning Point in the War on Terror. Oh, okay, good. Oh, I was talking about September 11. Okay, fair enough. Good. Thank you. Okay. Well, good. All right. Well, that's a good one. Here, I'll throw it in links. Throw it in the news links for people who want to see it. That's good. Thank you. Several of my students are into watching videos and stuff. I'm not much. Anyway, so they've got some very controversial new spy going on in Australia. People are getting mad about 5 episodes, but so many shocking stuff. Yes, yeah. That's why, while a lot of people that are defending Biden are saying, well, he might have messed up the withdrawal, but this war has been horrible for 20 years and we never should have been doing any of the stuff we were doing there, which seems to be the case. All my life I've heard that America keeps propping up horrible dictators, and then, of course, this doesn't really turn out to do us any good. Anyway, so Jair Bolsonaro is doing what Trump wanted to do in America. He is changing it so social networks can't block him, because just like Trump, he says a lot of false things, and then social networks block his posts and ban his account, and he's now putting a measure so people will not be able to silence him, and he'll be able to say whatever he wants on social media. And that's very much what Trump wants here, and we'll see if he gets it. If he gets back in, which I generally expect, I expect Trump to win again in 2024, for the way things are going. But we will see. And so the Republicans are following Trump, just basically acting like an organized crime family. So now the leader of the Republicans here, House Leader Kevin McCarthy, and also the lunatics like Marjorie Taylor Greene, are just telling telephone companies to ignore legal subpoenas for evidence, which would implicate them in planning for January 6th. And they say, if you don't hide our guilt, we will take revenge on you and destroy your companies when we're back in power, which is very clear witness intimidation and obstruction of justice. But, I mean, as Trump showed, you can blatantly obstruct justice and nothing will happen to you. So it's the way it's going. Oh, Jason Miller, created a social media site, was held in Brazil. Yeah, I didn't know he was held in Brazil. I know Jason Miller created the new right-wing site, whatever the latest one is after Gab. Oh, they held him up in Brazil. That's interesting. I don't know what for. Anyway, increasingly Republicans aren't even pretending to be a serious political party and just a mob of thugs. That's why I was talking to a friend of mine. I think it might be better if Trump wins in 2024, because if he loses, the Republicans will just use force and have a coup and put him in anyway. And that would probably be worse for the country. It's hard to say. We're going to live through interesting times in the next couple of elections here. Anyway, Israel is now planning a 4th COVID shot. Israel was the pioneer of the research leading to a 3rd shot. Now they think they might need a 4th shot. It's just, as we see here, the virus is coming back like crazy, even though a lot of people are vaccinated. If we vaccinated everybody fast, that might stop it. But this current situation where a large number of people won't take the vaccine has created a situation that is about like the worst case they were projecting. Although, the one good thing is if you are vaccinated, you're still pretty well protected against hospitalization and death, and even largely against catching it. So, anyway, this is a cheerful story. One thing I've heard a lot of is that if you've come across people that believe nonsense, like, the Joe Biden didn't win the election and the vaccine is like changing your DNA and killing you and stuff, you shouldn't like try to correct them or point to facts. That will just make them dig in. But apparently that is not true. They tried this. They tried exposing people to facts, clear factual statements, and they proved that it does make them believe lies less to expose them to the facts. So that's a cheerful thought. I don't think it means that you're going to get anywhere in casual conversation with your friends, but it does mean that society as a whole will move out of superstition into more accurate thought gradually. And if it seems like a lot of Americans that our country has gone mad, like 1/3 of the people live in a fantasy land, but I think if you go back something like a century, most of them believed in witchcraft and demons and magic and stuff. And we're currently going through a major surge in lies and disinformation, but it's a temporary thing, and the general trend has been less and less falsehood gradually over the centuries. Anyway, all right. So we're up to the official time. Let me make a different video.